Furious Zhuozhou villagers rise up. Rumors of clashes with police while resisting flood release. Super absurd. Jiamusi's impromptu construction of cabin goes viral, official response sparks public outrage. Surge in enthusiasm for EB5 among wealthy Chinese, a trend of heading to the US for rural opportunities. The global megacompanies sound the alarm, sales in China will slow down. China approves 3 new nuclear power plant projects, safety risks raise concerns. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Furious Zhuozhou villagers rise up. Rumors of clashes with police while resisting flood release. The current flooding situation in China is beyond words. It's a true disaster and a tragedy for the people of this nation. As previously reported, the ongoing heavy rain along with unexpected flooding has made the flood situation in Beijing's Mentugu and Fangshan areas even more devastating. The situation in Zhuozhou, Hebei, has worsened significantly. The authorities have made it a sacrificial lamb to protect Beijing. Informed netizens revealed that on the midnight of August 1st, the authorities in Zhuozhou, Hebei, attempted to secretly release floodwater to protect Beijing. However, local villagers discovered the plan and resisted, leading to clashes with the police. The authorities quickly mobilized special police and armed police to arrest villagers who resisted the forced flood release. Later, they forcefully breached the river embankment, causing floodwater to engulf nearby villages. At that time, most villagers had not evacuated and were trapped in the water, their fate unknown. Informed netizens also disclosed that the purpose of this flood release was to protect Beijing and Xiong'an. The authorities deployed armed police to ensure the breach of the embankment and flood Zhuozhou, effectively sacrificing the entire city. Analysts pointed out that Zhuozhou city in Hebei is only 70 kilometers away from the center of Beijing, with an average elevation of 37 meters, while Beijing's average elevation is 44 meters. Zhuozhou is downstream of Beijing and has experienced prolonged heavy rainfall in the entire Hebei region. As a result, water levels in all the rivers within Zhuozhou have risen significantly. Among them, the Baijuma River, Xiaoqing River, Baigo River, and other waterways are essential routes for flood discharge from Beijing, but due to the rapid rise in water levels, they have severely hindered the capacity to drain water from Beijing. Therefore, the authorities decided to abandon Zhuozhou and forcibly breach the embankment to quickly lower the water level, allowing for smooth flood discharge from Beijing. Prior to the early morning of August 1st, to protect Beijing, authorities in Zhuozhou, Hebei, forcefully breached the river embankment to release floodwater. As the residents woke up, they found that the entire Zhuozhou city had turned into a waterlogged area, while the local villagers were not timely notified about the releases. The water level of the Baigo River in Zhuozhou is rapidly rising, and there's a real risk of the embankment breaking, prompting residents to flee in a state of panic, resembling scenes from an apocalypse. Videos circulated on the internet showing that a large number of people fled during the late night, causing severe traffic jams on the highways. Some citizens said that they had been running from dusk till dawn and still hadn't left Baigo. In the video, a tearful and angry man said that they had already evacuated and had rescued more than 100 people throughout the day. The water rose rapidly, forcing them to evacuate. They were unwilling to leave, and all the affected people were calling for help, seeking assistance. However, the toll booths on the highway continued to issue cards one by one, resulting in long queues. According to Guangxia News, the Baoding-Baigo Expressway Management responded to the anger over residents' emergency evacuation still requiring toll payment by saying they had not received any instructions from higher authorities. Netizens expressed their anger, saying, "Why are they still thinking about collecting money at a time like this? Has conscience been eaten by dogs? Is money more important than lives?" According to official statements from the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, the current death toll from the flood disaster stands at 20 people, with 11 of those fatalities reported in Beijing. However, due to the history of lies by the CCP, these figures are obviously far from the truth. A screenshot that circulated online showed a volunteer involved in a post-disaster rescue in Mentugu claiming that their team alone has found over 200 bodies, including 3 children, with the youngest being just 4 years old. The volunteer also mentioned that the authorities in Mentugu cut off communication signals to prevent the public from live streaming or disseminating videos of the disaster scene. The scale of this apparent wrongdoing is truly horrifying. Super absurd. Jiamusi's impromptu construction of cabin goes viral, official response sparks public outrage. For over 6 months, Beijing has abandoned its zero-COVID policy, and makeshift cabin hospitals have been dismantled across the country. However, according to reports from various mainland media outlets, on August 1, a woman in Jiamusi, Heilongjiang, discovered a notice posted in her residential area about the construction of a cabin hospital, with the indicated dates from August 1, 2023, to August 9, 2023. On the morning of the 2nd, personnel from Jiamusi's Natural Resources and Planning Bureau stated that the term cabin hospital was used when applying for funding, as the government provided special funds during the pandemic. While it was nominally designated as an isolation point, its actual purpose has not been disclosed yet. When asked why the isolation point was located inside a residential area, the staff member stated that it was a decision made during a government meeting, following discussions among the Housing and Construction Bureau, the Medical and Environmental Protection Departments, and other units. Currently, it's in the public notification phase, and they are seeking residents' opinions. Since constructing cabin hospitals allows regions to seek funding from the central government, they have become a trend across various areas. It has been circulating online that, in order to fill these cabin hospitals, some places are resorting to forcefully quarantining residents, fabricating false positive cases, and there are even government departments sending people to spread the virus in residential areas, all to have a reason to fill up the cabins. It's utterly absurd. After suddenly easing the zero-COVID policy, a large number of cabin hospitals have been left abandoned and dismantled. Many cabin hospitals, which were not yet completed, are now facing demolition, leading to significant wastage. After this news went viral online, it sparked a heated discussion among netizens, and they expressed their anger. It's not that they can't build it, it's that they can't stop being greedy. In 2022, Heilongjiang Province contributed 78.37 billion in central tax revenue, received 3,750.23 billion in central transfer payments, resulting in a net negative contribution of 2,966.53 billion. Despite this financial situation, they are still spending lavishly. It's too rigid and bureaucratic. The hard-earned tax money of ordinary people is being squandered like this. Surge in enthusiasm for EB5 among wealthy Chinese, a trend of heading to the US for rural opportunities? After 3 years of strict COVID-19 restrictions, tighter ideological control, intensifying tensions with the West, and a gloomy economic outlook, an increasing number of Chinese people are leaving the mainland. These individuals come from various economic backgrounds, and some of them feel an urgent need to leave. According to information from EB5 investors, Wen Baiyang, the China director of the professional company First Pathway Partners, handling EB5, stated, "The enthusiasm of Chinese investors this year is higher than what we have seen in the past 5 years." Data published by the U.S. Department of State shows that in 2022, a total of 10,885 EB5 visas were issued, with 6,125 going to Chinese applicants, indicating that Chinese investors still dominate the EB5 market. Last year, the U.S. Congress passed the EB5 Reform and Integrity Act, RIA, which allocated 1/5 of the 10,000 visas each year specifically for rural projects, those located outside metropolitan areas with a population of fewer than 20,000 people. This has ignited the enthusiasm of wealthy Chinese immigrants. Previously, the waiting time for Chinese investors applying for EB5 visas was as long as 10 years. After the 2022 reform, the minimum investment amount for certain projects is $800,000, and EB5 projects in rural areas, high unemployment areas, and infrastructure projects do not require a waiting period. The EB-5 program, launched in the 1990s, has raised over $40 billion. It is an immigration program in the United States that allows foreign investors and their families to obtain green cards, permanent residency, by making qualifying investments in commercial enterprises in the country, while developers benefit from low-cost financing, and for rural areas, it means new job opportunities. The Wall Street Journal reported that a Chinese businessman from Zhuozhou said, "Like other parents, I hope my daughter has a better future." He has been researching suitable immigration programs for years but hesitated due to long waiting times. Now, he is cautiously optimistic about the modified U.S. program and hopes to give his daughter a chance to settle in the United States. The global megacompanies sound the alarm, sales in China will slow down. Global giants, including consumer goods leader Unilever, car manufacturer Nissan, and machinery maker Caterpillar, are all issuing warnings that China's post-pandemic economic rebound will dissipate, leading to a slowdown in sales and profits within the country. Unilever's chief financial officer, Graham Pitkithley, shared during a recent earnings conference call, "We are observing Chinese consumers being extremely cautious, a downturn in the real estate market, and reduced export demand. The unemployment rate in China is high, particularly among the youth. To our knowledge, Chinese consumer confidence is at an all-time low." Global car manufacturers are also grappling with competition from their Chinese counterparts. In the first half of 2023, domestic rivals for the first time captured over 50% of the market share. Volkswagen recently revised down its annual sales target as it experienced a decline in sales in its primary market, China. Makoto Uchida, the CEO of Nissan, a Japanese multinational automobile manufacturer, expressed last week, "Unfortunately, our China sales outlook is now far below our production capacity." He noted that it might take more time for the world's largest automotive market, China, to witness a revival in profitability. In the technology arena, chip makers like Samsung and SK Hynix have also noted that China's smartphone market has not shown signs of recovery after the lifting of pandemic-related restrictions. Production of NAND memory chips used in smartphones will be further curtailed. Even for Apple, its iPhone sales in the Chinese market are projected to remain stagnant. Research firm IDC forecasts a 2.1% decline in China's overall smartphone market during the second quarter. Even top mining companies and heavy machinery manufacturers are feeling the impact of the prolonged downturn in the real estate industry. The CEO of Caterpillar, the world's leading construction equipment manufacturer, Jim Umpleby, expressed during a conference call on August 1, "We now expect the Chinese market to soften further, as the decline in the 10-ton and above excavator industry has surpassed even our initial expectations." China approves 3 new nuclear power plant projects. Safety risks raise concerns. China Business News reported that the State Council of the Chinese Communist Party has recently approved the project of 3 nuclear power plants with a total of 6 nuclear power units in Shidaowan, Shandong, Ningde, Fujian, and Zhuzhou, Liaoning. Notably, China General Nuclear Power Corporation's Ningde Nuclear Power Project is located in Fujian Province's Taimashan Town, Fuding City, which is only 200 kilometers from Taiwan's main island. Residents said that they are very worried about China's nuclear power technology and lack of transparency in management, which makes its security impossible to guarantee, and they are even more afraid of the risk of war. Additionally, mainland China's media reports reveal that the Fujian-based Ningde nuclear project will employ the domestically developed Hualong 1 third-generation nuclear technology, asserting over 90% localization of equipment. Similarly, the initial expansion, Units 1 and 2, of the Shandong Shidaowan nuclear power plant under the Huaning Group would include CGNPC's Hualong 1 technology. Notably, each megawatt of third-generation nuclear power requires a 20 billion yuan investment, bringing the total investment for these 6 units to 120 billion yuan, approximately $16.68 billion. This proactive strategy is consistent with China's efforts to combat its ongoing economic downturn. Unlike previous large-scale projects like railways and airports, the focus now shifts to nuclear power investments. In other words, Because China's economy is facing a crisis of continuous recession, the authorities have repeated their tricks and launched these large-scale investment projects to stimulate economic growth. However, these ventures entail heightened risks. Shandong resident Zhang, speaking to Radio Free Asia, voiced concerns about the Zhuozhou Bay nuclear plant's proximity to Qingdao, highlighting the lack of public engagement despite widespread worries about potential pollution incidents and the adherence of China's nuclear technology to global standards. China's expert on the issue, former associate professor at Capital Normal University, Li Yuanhua, stated that the Chinese Communist Party lacks regulatory mechanisms for nuclear power plant projects, and coupled with widespread corruption among officials, it could lead to a massive disaster, because once a nuclear leak occurs, the consequences will be disastrous. However, there is a gap between China's standards for building nuclear power plants and those of the West, and its safety hazards are worrying. Li said, "What Chinese communist officials are willing to do is to pursue larger projects because the bigger they are, the more opportunities there are for corruption and personal gain. This applies to nuclear power plants as well. All officials focus on short-term gains. As long as there are benefits to be had, they will go for it. As a result, nobody is thinking about the welfare of future generations." The current issue with nuclear power plants is not about whether the technology is flawless or not, it's about the fact that nobody knows if it's genuinely perfect or just pretending to be. When they claim to go global, they fail to do so because they haven't met the required standards. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.